George Kilpatrick Inspiration for the Nation, celebrating people we feel good about. Here he is, Dr. Ish Major, one of the nation's top psychiatrists, the date doctor. He's here, TV host. He's got a new project that's coming up on Amazon Prime in a couple of months. We'll talk about that as well. But Dr. Ish, we thank you for being on the show and being one of our long-term guests and friends. But now I'm going to give you a little something. I'm going to let you puff your chest out a little bit.
Wait, hold on. Let me get ready.
You ready? I'm going to let you puff your chest out a little bit. Yes, I saw the Super Bowl. And yes, I saw Usher's performance. And yes, we saw the brothers from Kappa Alpha Psi doing their thing. There he is. He's got this shimmy. So let's just talk about how did the Kappa. First of all, when you saw that happen and you didn't know it was gonna happen.
No, it was gonna happen.
What did you leap out your chair and start doing your own thing? What did you do?
I had to go run to the closet, see if I could find my cane, man.
Yes. So
listen, it's been a long time since I've been online, so I had to make sure when I did my shimmy, I didn't hurt my back.
So yeah, Dr. Ish, we tease each other. I'm a proud member of Omega Psi Phi. He's a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. But I said, oh Lord, I got to get this brother some because and yes. The Kappas, how many posts have we seen?
Listen, man, it's going viral, man. It's a Kappa Valentine's week is what it is, yeah.
And then we saw that, and of course the brothers who stepped, they did a little profile on them, but that actually obviously is a big moment, and a lot of people are talking about Usher's performance at the Super Bowl and how, and I saw a Roy from Comedy Central, was from Comedy Central, talking about how the last sort of 4 Super Bowls have been like blackety black. He said our run might be over because he said they've been, but like, Usher had D9, he had stripper poles, he had, HBCU and Luda, Lil Jon, her, right? And Jermaine Dupri, he had everybody. And one of the, if not, was it the most watched Super Bowl halftime show?
The most watched, right. The most highest rated Super Bowl and halftime show. Yeah.
Right. And so how do you top that? But it was a great show. So, but I wanted to, before
it was unapologetically black, right?
Unapologetically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, Doc, we didn't get you before Valentine's Day, so hopefully you did it right, fellas. Hopefully you did it right. But let's talk about, Valentine's Day and healthy relationships, Doc. Let's talk about that and get some things out for our listeners and viewers about relationships. So let's start with Valentine's Day and some conversations that you've had recently about what people think Valentine's Day should be.
Well, with George, the brothers are having a problem, right? The men. And when I say men, I mean anybody who's embodying that masculine presence in your dynamic, right? We're going to be inclusive. But the guys are having a real issue this year because they're trying to figure out who exactly is this day for, right? Is it for us, right? That we can enjoy each other and celebrate each other? Is it for you? Right? This just right. I'm just going to shower you with gifts and all this thing. Or is it for your Instagram and your TikTok followers?
Well, okay.
Right? Because who am I doing this for?
Right.
I could buy you 5 balloons, but that doesn't look great when you post it. So I got to buy you 25. So it looks over, right? So what are we really doing? Right? Had a very interesting conversation with a fellow media person, and she was saying, listen, I just think it needs to be a national holiday and guys need to be prepared to spend $2 to $3 grand minimum on that day. You need to budget it in wisely because depending on your budget and her taste, that's just what it's got to be. And she was she was so matter of fact about it, George, that she was resolute. There was no moving her off of it. So
we can forget birthdays, Christmas, anniversaries, no Valentine's Day. Or maybe she didn't even get to that, right? She just said
Valentine's Day is the day. It's the official day where women get to play Can You Top This? And it is okay, right?
Okay.
Right? I got balloons and candy. I got balloons, candy, and a card. What she was saying is she was like, well, what if she wants a car? Right? So you need to be prepared to put a bow on a Tesla and drive it up silently so she can show it to the world. It's allowed. But my question, George, is where does it go? Where does it end? Right? And is that what it takes for you to feel love and connection? Or are we really going to say, hey, this is just for show, and then we're going to do our private thing? So, right, you got to figure that out. You got to have that conversation as a couple and keep that internal, as companies say, and then you got to decide what you're going to show the world, you know?
So let's talk about relationships then, right? Because, and there's a couple of things there. You say that this year was hard for singles. Why was it hard for singles?
It was. Well, look at what's happening in the world, man. It's getting harder, not easier, right? People have less money, not more money. People have less attention, not more. You know how hard it is to break through on an app or to slide in somebody's DMs, or, right, God forbid, to walk up to somebody in a grocery store and ask them out on a date. We don't know how to take rejection anymore, right? And so singles are really feeling singled out because they're like, I don't really know how to get out of this cycle, right? And when I look at some of my friends who are all coupled up, booed up, I'm not 100% sure I want to.
Right? Not sure you want to, and people have lost the art of actually courting or meeting because it's all computer, right? It's all apps, right? You've said to me many years, the best way to meet people is on apps, and which is what a lot of people do. But if you're not computer savvy, then you might lose out in that game.
It's hard. It's hard because you don't get that thing called chemistry, right? Mm-hmm. There is nothing like seeing how a person walks up to you or how she walks across the room. There's nothing like being in person and figuring that out. And so for a lot of folks, it's really hard to make that connection with the 2D image online. And then you've got to arrange a date, and then you show up and you get all excited, and then no, womp, it didn't go well. So for a lot of folks, it's really, they just feel like they're in that hamster wheel and they just don't know how to get out of it.
So let's talk. All right. I'm thinking about, I got some specific things I wanted to ask you about. What if you're in a relationship or you're contemplating a relationship, but somebody's, I want to call it needy, and some people might call it insecure. In other words, you always want to be around the other person, and that other person needs space every now and again, which is okay. But if I'm clingy, that's the word, how do I deal with somebody who's clingy, who, despite them wanting to not be clingy, is going to be clingy? Yeah. How do you deal with a clingy person, and how do they deal with the fact that they are clingy and recognize that they're clingy?
Well, first I got to say, man, George, I'm proud of you for coming out as a clingy Q. You know, I just want to.
Yes, I am.
It takes courage, and I want to applaud that, and I want to nurture that. So when I almost hate to use that word clingy or needy, because you automatically have this negative connotation of this, right? Of this neurotic, needy person who wants to be on you all the time, texting you all the time. What are you doing? When are we doing our thing? But you really got to get underneath the behavior and understand what they're really asking for, right? Because there's only two things somebody who's into you is ever going to try to tell you: how much they love you or how much they need you. Mm-hmm. And when this person's being clingy, they're trying to say, hey, this is what I need. So what is it they need? Well, they need reassurance. They need consistent validation. And that's the only way they feel secure in that relationship, because it's about attachment styles. So when I hear clingy, I automatically think in my psychiatrist brain, okay, this is a person with an anxious attachment style. Right?
Oh, okay.
Which means they're very, right, they want that intimate relationship, but they're not 100% sure that you can meet their needs, and they're even more uncertain that they can make you happy. So they need constant reassurance, constant validation. Is it okay? You didn't text me back. It took you 2 minutes to text me back. Is it okay? Am I enough? Is it okay? Am I enough? What do you mean? We're only going on 1 date this week. I'm gonna need like 3. I need you to call me every night. All of these things that we talk them as clingy. No, it's actually the things that they need to feel a secure attachment with you. And so on the opposite end of that, you got to realize it's not about you, right? Because guys will say, that masculine energy will say, listen, my God, what's enough, right? I've done this, I've done that. What do you need me to do so you feel secure? And it doesn't have anything to do with that, right? You got to understand with this attachment style, you are constantly starting over at 0, and it goes to how you were brought up as a child.
Well, how do you deal with that? So understanding that attachment style, right. and you're repelled from that, right? That is something you like, yo, slow down. I need some energy.
Some of us are repelled, George, and then some of us are drawn to it like a moth to a flame.
All right. So are there ways for people to navigate? Now I know what that is. Right. Are there ways to navigate that in ways that the person who's not so into that can learn to appreciate that? So what's the medium ground?
Yeah. And my mom used to say, son, a little understanding is a beautiful thing, right? And she was a huge Ray Charles fan, so I think she stole that from him. I think that was a Ray Charles song, right? So with that understanding comes a little bit of empathy, right? Maybe an inch or 2, where you don't get aggravated or annoyed at that next text or that next request, but you understand this is their way of saying, hey, I'm still here and into you. Are you still into me, right? So it gives you a little understanding. And if this is the person you picked, right, then you get the person you picked, not the person they could be. So this is the partner you chose. As they say in The Godfather, this is the life we've chosen. So you're going to have to suit up if you're going to be this person's person, right? And you can have honest conversations about it, right? You don't have to make them feel crazy or neurotic or like they're always losing. You can say, hey, why don't we game plan this thing, right? Tell me exactly what you need. And as the man in that, as the man in that part, George, it's nothing like we like better than a hard target. If you tell me, hey, all you got to do, baby boy, you text me 3 times a day, call me 3 times a week, and let's go on 2 dates a week, and I will be happy. I'm gonna be like, and let me break out my calendar. That's all I need to know. And I'm gonna schedule it in because now I know exactly what I need to do to make you happy. Right. So it's about having that conversation. And then as the other person deciding, is this something that's going to work for me? Am I ready to put in that emotional labor to keep this sustained, or does this not work for me? And do I need to let them just support them on their journey while they figure out how to attach more securely in the future?
So Doc, you said make you happy. That's that right there is a red flag to me, because I can't make you happy, bruh. Right?
But you can help me feel happy.
Okay. So that's a different thing.
Right?
Okay.
You can help me, a very different thing. You can help me, right? You're exactly right. If it's your job to make them happy, then you lose it. As Bomani Jones said, you hustling backwards now, right?
Then what is we're talking with Dr. Ish Major, date doctor. We've got a show he's got coming up with Nick Cannon.
One and only.
I want to say something. I want to make a joke, but I know he's your boy, so I'm gonna leave it right there. No, I'm gonna say your baby daddy. That's what I was gonna say. Okay. But we love you, Nick. You know what it is. Okay.
Oh yeah, we love him. We love him. He's a good dude.
He's got a show coming up with Nick, and we'll talk about that in just a second. What are some of the warning signs that your relationship may be unhealthy or toxic? Because you said there's a lot of toxicity that is coming around, and this is an area that I really want to hear more about from you, because there are a lot of people who find themselves in relationships that they don't think are unhealthy for them, or they are unhealthy for them, and they see themselves cycling, right? There's a cycle of, I'm leaving, I'm packing my bags. The next thing you know, we're out to dinner and we're right, you know what I mean? And then next week, I'm packing my bags, and then
Right.
next thing you know, we're
Right.
at the theater together. I'm packing
Right.
my bags, and then I'm, so that sounds unhealthy and toxic to me, but it seems normal for them.
It does. It's funny, man. We all choose the thing that, if given the choice, most of us will naturally gravitate towards the thing that feels familiar as opposed to the thing that feels functional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's what we know, right? It's what we've seen and it feels comfortable. We've learned how to navigate that world, even though it may be entirely pathological and dysfunctional. If that's the thing we know, that's the thing we grew up seeing, or that's our norm, then it feels normal to us. While the functional thing, it just feels weird. So yeah, so some of those red flags, what you just talked about was the coming and going, the nesting, the coming and going from the nest. That's a huge red flag. If you've been together for 12 months and you've broken up 10 times in those 12 months, that's a red flag. What are we doing? Right? If for ladies, right? For ladies, if you're dating a guy and you don't know anything about any of his exes and why they broke up, and you've never heard him say a kind word about any of the women in his family, mama, sister, auntie, grandma, that is a tremendous red flag, right? That means he doesn't do women well. So
Mm.
there is no reason to believe he's going to do you well, right? Huge, huge red flag. Guys, same deal, man. If there are things after 6 months of dating her that you don't know about her life, right? Have you met her girlfriends? Has she taken you home to meet mama? Right? It's been 6 months, right? That's generally, it's about 6 months before folks consider this to be official. So if you've been dating for 6 months and you haven't met anybody's significant parents or caregivers, that's another red flag that this may not be as serious as you think. So it's all about telling yourself the truth about where you are at each step of the relationship.
Notwithstanding physical, emotional, psychological abuse as well, right?
Absolutely, right. And those red flags for guys, they're subtle, right? It can start off with a nasty text message. Leave me alone. Go screw off, right? That kind of thing. That's the easy thing, but it's a
Right.
test, right? Fall for the trick, because if you come back and continue to communicate, then you just told him, oh, what he did was okay. Now he knows he can take it to the next level, right? Some guys they'll blow up in your presence first, right? They won't. Nobody starts off by punching you in the face and breaking your nose and giving you a black eye. That's not how it starts off. That doesn't happen on the first date, but on the third date, he may let you see him get upset with a coworker, right? And he may get so upset that he throws some papers across the room or he smashes a glass. He lets you see what the fury looks like. And if it doesn't scare you away, he's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I can bring it a little bit closer next time, right? So
Right.
you
So
got to
there's kind
watch.
of a grooming thing going
It's
on.
an absolute grooming thing. He's teaching you who he's going to be and who you're going to need to be in order to be with them, right? That people subconsciously teach these lessons, and that's one of those things to watch for with ladies.
So this is a side topic, and I don't know what you could do with this, but a lot of people on the outside are watching Kanye West's new marriage with his wife Bianca, and I don't know if there's anything more to say, but that to some people looks unhealthy. Anything you could say about that?
I don't know, man. It sure does look like Kanye's been having his struggles over these last few years, just emotionally in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also with his attachments, his lack of attachment to what a lot of folks who knew him considered his one true love, which was Kim K. You know,
Right.
and it seemed like this was an awful quick replacement. So a lot of folks are thinking it's rebound, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is, maybe it's not. We can't say because we're not inside that dynamic. And it sure does look like she's doing her best to morph into whoever he needs her to be. Right.
Right.
That's what it looks like from the outside in.
Right. And
We don't know. Maybe that's who she is, and I hope for her sake that it is. But if it's the other thing, then it's not healthy. And if it's the other thing, then I hope she's got a tight support group of sister girls around her who she can rely on in the case things get sketchy. Because that's right. That's one of those red flags, right? When you have to show up and be somebody different just to be with them.
We there's a question that comes up about how can couples who are in long-term relationships maintain intimacy. You can describe intimacy any way you want, but there was a viral video. I don't know if you've seen this. This is a church conference where the question was asked. This couple was married 45 years, and the woman gets up at the church conference.
Right. That's right.
And says, she has a mic, but she thinks she's going over to the moderator and whispering in her ear, but it picks up what she says. So because we're a family show and we're in the first hour, she basically said she's been married 45 years, and the reason why she's been able to maintain a long-term relationship with her husband was because of fellatio. That was what she said.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
so
all right. She brought it to the congregation then.
That she did. And of course, the congregation, they screamed. The guy who was the whole, I don't know what he did, but there was a lot of laughter at that comment, because this is the church lady talking about how she keeps her relationship together.
Right. That's right. Listen, so that has been one of the long lauded secrets of happy marriages amongst female circles, right? You've got to be able to please him at the drop of a hat physically, because men are simple and they're not wrong. We're not all that complicated when you think about us as guys, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it's really about giving each other what you need and want, though, right? Mm-hmm. And when we talk about sex and we talk about intimacy, obviously those are two different things. But in this country, right, we are a very sexually repressed culture. We all have always have been, right? And when we talk about Black folks in particular, we are a very conservative culture when it comes to sexuality, things we do.
Talking about it, not. Do you mean talking about it or actually?
I'm talking about actually doing it, right? Okay. The surprising thing about us is if you think you know Black culture by watching us in a music video or watching us in a movie, and you think that is representative of what the average Black family runs through on a Friday night, it's really not, right? Black folks in this country are some of the most traditional conservative folks you're ever going to meet. So there's some things, right? There's some sister girls out there on date number one. She going to run a list of all the things she's not about to do with you. Okay. But when you're talking about intimacy, sexuality within your dynamic, you've got to be able to have that open, honest conversation with no judgment, with no shame, with no embarrassment. And if you can inject an element of playfulness into it, I think that's really the key, right? Because fellatio, well, it's not full-on intercourse, and it's right, you don't have all the dynamics that go into that, but it's a lot more light, a lot more playful. It's quicker, it's easier, it's all these things. So I always say, look, if your sex is always serious, then you're seriously having sex the wrong way, right? It should be playful. It should be fun. It doesn't have to be a full-on thing every time. It can be spontaneous. And so those are some of the elements that she also was intimating when she made the congregation say amen. Okay.
It goes down to trust in a relationship. And so how do you rebuild trust if it's been broken?
Yeah, that's hard, man, because you want to think that's on the other person. It's really not, right?
Right.
If you are invested in them getting your trust back, then you're not going to get any ROI on that investment. That's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. So the trust comes from, right? And what happens? So how do we lose trust? Well, something happened that you didn't expect. They zigged when you thought they were going to zag, right? They lied to you. They withheld something from you, right? There was some subterfuge. There was an element of a secret. And so now I can't trust that you're going to hold this safe space for me. Mm-hmm. And so what you've got to do is understand that the trust doesn't have anything to do with them or what they did. You want to understand it, right? So you can predict what's going to happen in the future, but the trust is on you, right? You've got to trust that, hey, I have been through rough things before and I've gotten through it, had no idea how it was going to turn out, but I came through it okay. And I trust that I will come through this also. Right? I have my faith, I have my family, I have all these things that I can rely on when times get tough. And I trust that whatever happens next, I'll be able to handle it. And that's how you find the courage to step back up fully in that relationship once the trust has been broken. It's all about you and knowing what you can rely on when things get tough.
Let me go back to sex and intimacy, by the way, and I appreciate that because I don't think we fully dealt with that, but also you just led me now into how to. I want to pick. So there's two things I want to pick back up. They may be disjointed. So instead of me going back to sex and intimacy, but I am going to go back to that.
Sure.
Let me just pick up what you just said about trust. So what are some of the ways then that we can resolve conflict then, because trust is also going to lead to some, if trust is broken, then that's going to be conflict. How do you resolve conflicts in a relationship in a healthy way, no matter, the gender identity of the folks in the relationship?
It's a good question, man. And so would you believe that most folks argue 70% of the arguments you will ever have with your partner are all about the exact same three things?
Go ahead.
70%. They're your three things, right? They're unique to your dynamic. Whatever those three things are, if you pay attention to the actual argument, you're always arguing about the same three things because they never get resolved. Right? It's about you withholding emotions from me. It's about you lying to me. It's about you making me feel alone.
So true.
In this relationship. It's about the theme. It's always a different thing, right?
Is it because when we don't hear our partner when they say what they need from us, and when we say what we want from them, they're not? So that's part of it, right? And so it's because I thought about that. I said, if we communicate clearly needs and wants, and just say this is what I want, or you may or may not get what you want, but at least you're clear about what you want.
Well, it's a relationship. You're never going to get all of what you want.
Right.
It's always a negotiation. That's right. You're always going to give a little something and you're going to take a little something. And that's fine. So here's how you fix it, George. You hit right on it. LUV. You don't ever have to resolve an argument in your relationship. You don't ever have to resolve the issue and put it to rest. Never. All you've got to do is help your partner feel seen, heard, and understood. So it's the LUV, seen, heard, and understood, right? If you can show up and help your partner feel that every single day, they'll never want to leave, ever want to leave. So you got to do it with LUV, listen, understand, validate. I'll ask you a question and we'll practice. We'll role play for the people.
Okay. Oh Lord, I'm scared as heck.
All right. What did you have for lunch today? I had
a Thai noodle leftovers from dinner last night.
Oh man, did I hear you right? You said you had Thai noodle leftovers?
Yes.
For lunch? Yeah, for lunch.
For lunch.
Well, how was that? It sounds like it was probably some pretty good Thai. I love Thai. How was that?
It was really. Here's a funny thing. I had to doctor it up because it was not as good as I wanted it to be when I got it last night, which is why I took it home, and then I doctored it up a little bit.
Well, it's funny how Thai food works like that, man. Sometimes you got to add a little extra something here, a little extra something there.
Well, let me just say this.
See how that felt?
Yes. And I'm going to add one more thing. It actually wasn't a Thai restaurant, but they tried to do something Thai. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now let's do it the other way. Let's do it the way most couples do it. George, what did you have for breakfast today?
I had an orange and an apple.
What do you say? You had some orange juice. Is that what you said?
No. I had an orange and an apple.
So you had applesauce for breakfast? That's weird, man. You see, right?
You're right. Oh, I can't stand it. I can't stand it when you have a phone.
And this is the way most couples argue.
Oh my God.
Never leaves your hand. I never make eye contact. I never help you feel seen, heard, understood. And it is infuriating, right?
Yes, it is. And for the people on the radio, while I was talking, Dr. Ish took out his phone and wasn't really listening to me when I was talking to him, and then was answering the question without actually knowing what I said.
Right. And that helps people feel small. It helps diminish your significance to them because I'm your partner. I need to know that I'm the most important person to you, regardless. And so if you can just say, hey, So when you can get out of your own way, right, and hear what their grievance is and not feel like they're about to blame you, you're just listening. You're just taking in new information now, right? Hey, you know what? When you don't text me back after 2 hours, it really hurts my feelings. All you're going to do is repeat that thing right back to them. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me make sure I'm hearing you. If what I heard you say was, when I don't answer your texts after 2 hours, it hurts your feeling. Is that right? And they're going to be like, yeah, that's exactly what I said. Right? You felt them, you heard them. I understand why you would feel that way. However, that is not my intention. Sometimes I honestly get so tied up at work, I really can't get away. And I know it only takes 5-10 seconds. I'll try to work on it. But sometimes that's the thing, and it's really not personal, right? So I helped you feel seen. I've helped you feel heard. And I understand. I am not invalidating anything you feel. I'm also want to give you back now some new information. Sometimes I honestly can't. And it's not just me being a jerk.
Show me some love. Listen, understand, and validate. Now you have to come up with something for the not listening part. You got to get the acronyms together, bro. I know what it's going to be. All right. Now,
JERK, you're being a jerk. That's what you're doing.
All right. Back to this question about intimacy in relationships and the difference between sex and intimacy. And so let's talk about what intimacy is, right? We know what sex is. We think we do. Right. What are we talking about with intimacy? Because intimacy is a lot of little things that help to create it. I'm asking you, then I'm answering your question, but it's definitely something we should talk about, because sometimes we forget, we go right to sex and forget about intimacy. So let's talk about that. That's why I wanted to go back to that.
Yeah. I think for me, when I think about intimacy, man, I think the word that brings to my mind is safety. Psychological safety, right? That's what we're in this relationship for. This is my safe place. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to put the mask on. I can take the armor off. I can walk around in my socks and my sweatpants, you know what I mean? And my t-shirt with the stain on it, and I can trust, right? And you're not going to embarrass me. You're not going to help me feel ashamed about who my mama was and who my daddy wasn't, about what we did or didn't have growing up, right? You're going to accept me. So we're talking about psychological safety. In order for that to happen, you've got to be intentional about that. So you've got to nourish that with vulnerability, right? You've got to nourish that with truth. You've got to water that thing with just being brutally honest at every turn. You can't withhold, right? You can't. And if you are, be honest about it and tell the person why you're doing it. But when you're trying to create a safe psychological space, the key word there is vulnerability. You got to go in, and there's one of my favorite movies, Meet Joe Black, and Anthony Hopkins has a line in the movie. He says, love is showing this person everything you are, right? And them not only not rejecting it, but them accepting you for it. That's you have to show them who you are and trust that they're going to handle it with sweetness and tenderness and kindness and loving care. And that creates that vulnerability, and that creates that intimate, safe space. And if you can do that well, your sex life will be off the charts.
All right. And take out the garbage too, I
guess. Exactly. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Any other advice you have for couples, no matter what their gender identity and sexuality is?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask for what you need and want, right?
Yeah.
Other person's there because they want to help make you happy, right? They want to see you smile. They want to see you satisfied. They want to see you pleased. That's not dysfunctional to do that. So, and what happens is, the person with the more feminine energy in that dynamic usually assumes that the person with the more masculine dynamic is some kind of magical mind reader just because they fall in love, right? Right? Well, you should know, George. You should know what I want. Right? And it drives the masculine energy insane, because all we really want is for you to tell us. Just
Okay,
tell me
could you
what you
just
want.
say it plainly? Why have to
Right,
be a mind reader?
right. I can make it romantic. I can do all that, but just tell me. Judge Toll from the divorce court used to say, you got to draw a man a hard target. And people try to hit that target for you. Listen, it's not, we are simple creatures. All we need to know is, why are we there? What can we do to make you happy? You tell him those two things every single day. You communicate those two things to your man, to your masculine partner every single day. He will never, ever want to leave because he knows his mission. Masculine energy is about mission, George. You give me the thing to do, and I'm going to do it, right? And you give me a plan. Yes, sir, General, sir. You give me my marching orders, and I'm going to achieve the mission. That's what men do. So help us out. Help us out.
All right. All right. So let's help some couples out, right? What are the traps to avoid those communication pitfalls?
Right. Never show up less than who you are, right? As a man, what's one of the things we want, George? We want to show up and feel important and feel powerful. End of story. Help me feel powerful. It's why most men cheat, because they can't feel powerful and dynamic, and they don't have the guts to ask their woman how to help them do it, right? Because they feel they've lost the right. Maybe they lied. Maybe they missed a few anniversaries, missed a few birthdays. Maybe they cheated. So you feel like you lose the right to ask for the things, and it's easier to go find it somewhere else, right? As a woman, never be afraid to show up as a full-on woman, right? Sometimes you want to fold up into his arms, into the couch for a night with some cookies and cream, right? And be that amazingly sensual, feminine creature who we know you guys can be, right? So never be afraid to step into that, right? And if you got a partner who doesn't help you feel safe enough to be all of that, then you might have the wrong partner.
Yeah. And that's hard, right? When you realize that, and then you may not leave for a lot of reasons.
You know, that's the number one fear of women. Did you know that?
Is that
it's not, it used to be being cheated on, and it used to be getting abandoned or being left. Now, the number one fear in relationships that women have is ending up with the wrong person.
Ending up with the wrong person.
Am I with the wrong person or not? Am I about to waste the next 10 years of my life on the wrong dude?
That's so they already, but what do you mean that's the fear that before they get into the relationship, or that they're already in it and then they now are questioning?
Both.
Wow.
And you also know that 65% of women who are already divorced will say they knew they were getting divorced on their wedding day. Walking down the aisle, taking their vows, they were like, yep, this ain't going to work.
On the wedding day?
On the wedding day.
So what did, you got to help me out here. Why were you doing, why did you even go, why did you get married?
Everybody loves a good wedding, George. Come on.
Why don't you just have a party without doing the papers? How about
you invited the people, you booked the church, you booked the reception, you bought the food, you bought the dress, you lost the weight, you did all the things. They're not going to miss that moment.
Listen, I have been advised of weddings that were supposed to happen, and then I'm asking, where is the church? And they're like, oh, you didn't find out. They're not getting married. I do have to ask you to weigh in on something that you're watching from afar, and we have to admit that you don't know what's going on. Sure. But what's going on with Monique and the son? Can you help a brother out? What are you seeing there from afar?
You know, I'm a child psychiatrist, so what I can tell you we would diagnose that as is parent-child relational problem, right? That's an actual psychological, psychiatric diagnosis, what we call parent-child relational, which means y'all just have a really jacked up relationship.
Right? Period, said and done.
Period, said and done. We don't know who disappointed whom first, right? We don't know who let who down first. We don't know who broke their promises first, right? And we don't know what those wounds are, right? She's been pretty open about some of her childhood wounds, what she went through growing up and how that shaped who she is. We don't know that much about the son, right? But there are clearly some childhood wounds there, right? Mm-hmm. We don't know what those are. We if he's going to share them with us, we can make a more intelligent, diagnosis of what's happening. But clearly there is a lack of communication. There is a lack of respect. There is a lack of intimacy in what should be the most intimate relationship of all, which is a mother to a son.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, Monique on the Club Shay Shay talked about how she didn't have a relationship with her son and made some things, and then he went on Instagram and did a thing, and then they went on Instagram and did a thing, and then he went back on
today
and did another thing. His name is Shalon. So I just wanted to get your all right. So
because that's significant, George, because there's no love greater than the love a son has for his mom. Right?
Yeah.
Fathers and daughters, that's a different kind of dynamic. But when you got a little boy who adores his mom, right? That's a powerful thing. And for that not to happen tells me that there was a significant fracture there somewhere. We just don't know what it was.
Well, we know that when the time comes, they'll sit in your office and the cameras will be there. And it'll be all healed.
It's what I do, right? I'm the celebrity secret keeper, right? The secrets come in and they never go out, right? That's because we create psychological safety.
Man, I keep going on, and I got another thing. So speaking of Shannon Sharpe, him and Mike Epps had a little beef, right?
Yeah.
Mike said something about him. He came back, and something remarkable happened. I don't know if you saw this. Right, and which is going to lead me into what you're going to do with Nick Cannon, right? That they, as men, decided that they were going to. Shannon said, when we get in Indianapolis, we're going to sit down together for the All-Star weekend. That's this weekend. All-Star game is going to be tonight, Sunday night, and so they basically showed a picture of them. A couple of photos. There's no cameras. We didn't bring any audio. We didn't be cameras. But you see, we here, and we want you to know we good now, right? And so the ability for us as men to throw out the wolf tickets, but then also be willing to publicly say we squash that beef. I really think that's kind of powerful and significant in this shoot now, ask questions later culture. Can you speak to a little bit of that? And then we'll lead into what you've got coming up with Nick Cannon this May on Amazon Prime.
Well, yeah. So first of all, I was so proud of Shannon and Mike when I saw them hugging it out on Instagram today, right? Because quite frankly, that's not the way most of our beefs end, is it?
No.
Right? Either they are an ongoing beef that never ends, or it ends horribly tragic, violent, whatever the case may be. Someone gets wounded in some way, financially, professionally, physically, emotionally. So, but it goes back to that concept, right? Psychological safety. What do we need to do in order to squash this? Okay, well, we're going to actually have to show up, and we're going to have to tell the truth, which means we're going to have to be vulnerable, right? I'm going to have to take this armor off. I'm going to have to take this mask off. Yes, we're both successful. We both make money. We both got our massive amounts of fans. We got all of this. But in this moment, hey, I'm going to need you to see who I am, right? You said some things that I didn't think were true. And you say I said some things that you didn't think were true. So let's sit down. Let's have a conversation about it, right? Because what we're not going to do is model how to do it the wrong way because we got too many eyes on us, right? It's all about understanding your position, understanding who's watching, and understanding what true masculinity looks like, right? It's not the big, hard, soft thing. It's not the 54-inch chest and the massive biceps, right? That's a part of it. But that's a small part of it, right? True masculinity means you are never ashamed to show up and show people the love you have for them and show people what it really means to hold that safe space, right? Is it easier to push the door open or to hold that door shut from whoever's coming outside, right? Holding safe space, that's the thing that requires strength, because you got to be in full possession of all of your faculties when it comes to your man stuff in order to be vulnerable and soft and open and receptive in that space. So that's what I'll applaud them for doing. That was fantastic.
How about that? And so, speaking of which, speaking of men getting together,
stuff.
Talk about your new show that you'll be doing with Nick Cannon, the television show and the podcast, and the name of it and what you will be doing.
You got it, man. We're super excited about this project, man. We've got this new show coming out, George, called Council Culture, because it's not about cancel culture. It's about council culture. We could all use a wise counsel.
Oh, so it is called council culture. I wrote down cancel.
No, council culture. Okay. And so think of it as The View, but all guys, right?
All right, all right.
Nick Cannon is the host, myself as a co-host, and then we have an amazing Dr. Mike Dow, psychologist brother out of California, is the other co-host, and we bring all your favorite celebs on, and we talk about things from a male point of view, uniquely male topics, toxic masculinity, dating in this day and age. You got to watch when Neo came on, and Neo's going to talk about some stuff that's going to blow y'all's mind.
Neo who?
Neo.
Oh, Neo. Oh, yeah. Well, Neo's had some stuff.
Listen, Neo's had some stuff. You know, he's recently going through a divorce, and he's going to get some stuff off his chest, right? We're going to bring Lamar Odom on for you to talk to you about it. We're bringing in the celebs, man. We're bringing in the heavy hitters. So it's a thing.
Lamar Odom got some stuff to talk about.
Odom got a lot of stuff to talk about, right? Yeah. So we're going to hold that safe space for guys to show up and be guys. And hopefully we can model what it looks like to have that true masculine brotherhood going. But yeah, and also we got the podcast that accompanies it, and that's going right now. His first guest up was the one and only Iyanla Van Zandt. So you actually got to follow that on Instagram, Council Culture Show. Go tap into that, and it's fantastic.
That's on all the platforms right now. The Council,
wherever you can listen to podcasts, it's there right now, and on YouTube. Yeah, Council Culture Show. Go tap into that. You know, she is who she is, right? She's all of ours wise counsel.
Love it. From a male point of view, and she's like, and my brothers, you must own.
Oh yes, she's mama.
Your masculinity.
Right, that's right. She's mama.
Be who you are supposed to be in that relationship. All right, I love your line. Yeah,
she's our truth teller.
She's all good.
She's our Rafiki. She's our truth teller.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so great when you can, and it's all based in the truth of your being, right? When you are clear. And I'll leave you with this. You know, sometimes who we are, people either attack us for that, or they. And we have to be comfortable with who we are, and be willing to take what comes with that. And that's hard, right? Because we are human, right? And I love what Shannon said when he said, you know, when going back to what Mike was saying about him and questioning sexuality and all of that stuff. And you know what he said? He said, I don't care about none of that stuff. But what I do care about is you lie, you know, basically going back to what the beef was, they squashed it, right?
I know exactly who I am, and I am comfortable showing up as that. What I do care about is you questioning my personal integrity, right? That's the part that matters to me, right? But who you think I am, that's none of my business, right? Because I know. That doesn't concern me. And that when you can stand on that truth, now you got power. Now you're standing in power.
Talk to me. Dr. Ish Major. Catch him on Council Culture. Council Culture, wherever you get your podcast. Look for the show on Amazon.
Coming out this May. It's going to be on Amazon. We're going to do a lot of promos for it. Actually,
yes,
I might even be bringing it to your city on tour before the show starts.
Let's go. I'll watch for it. It'll be somewhere near you.
Oh yeah.
It'll be somewhere near you. You know, don't listen, Ish. You make sure when you in that room say, yo, we gotta hit Syracuse because my boy is up there. He's a Q. We gotta hit the Q's because we're doing some great work up here around these issues. Don't forget the little cities, okay?
Gotta hit the Q's. Absolutely.
Listen, you know what? Let's show them up. All right, Dr. Ish Major, drishmajor.com, America's favorite psychiatrist. And I know we've had you on talking about the other shows, and you know, we'll see when that comes back as well.
That's right. Yep. It's coming back with a new form. Can't drop the secret yet, but stay tuned.
Marriage Boot Camp is coming back. We'll let you know when. And of course, when it happens, Doctor, it should be right here. Doctor, man,
Absolutely.
this has been great, man. Great conversation.
Always a pleasure catching up, man. Thank you so much for
It
having me.
always is. Dr. Ish Major here on Inspiration for the Nation.
My man.